The chase for the Sprint Cup moved to Texas Motor Speedway Sunday. With 3 races remaining in the season, many were ready to engrave Jimmie Johnson's name on the championship trophy. But events both early and late in Sunday's race showed why in this sport, nothing's a lock till the checkers wave.
Anything can happen. I know that statistics show there's probably not a chance for that to happen at this point, but it can still happen. You still have to play the game. You still have to run the race and get those points.
We got trouble. We've got Jimmie Johnson sliding off turn 2. He collects Sam Hornish Jr. and pounds the inside wall.
And the one thing that Jimmie Johnson did not want to happen happened. The low Chevrolet is a complete wreck.
Kyle Busch has run out of gas.
And Kurt Busch is the new leader on the back straightaway. Kurt Busch is going to have enough fuel to win the Dickies 500.
NASCAR Now is presented by the Home Depot.
And from the Home Depot Garage Studios, we welcome you to the Opportunity Knocked edition of the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable. When Jimmie Johnson got turned into the wall 3 laps into the race, opportunity knocked for his competitors in the chase for the Sprint Cup. And when Kyle Busch's fuel tank went dry in the late laps of the race, opportunity knocked for his big brother to take home the trophy. We talk about all that and much more with this week's Roundtable panel. Ray Evernham, Boris Said, and Ricky Craven. Honestly now, when you saw Jimmie Johnson hit that wall as hard as he did 3 laps into the race, what was your first reaction?
Whoa, 43rd position, lose a lot of points today.
My jaw dropped. I mean, you were expecting that to happen at Talladega, but not at Texas.
Sitting with my wife, we just looked at each other sort of stunned and said nothing, you know, and that was our reaction.
It was one of those, can you believe that happened moments? Let's take a look at the can you believe that happened moment. Jimmie Johnson, headline number 1 from Sunday's race. The 3-time defending champ started 12th, and then this happened.
And nearly saved it, Alan.
Yeah, the double zero just barely got into the 77. He got loose and took out Jimmie, and extensive damage. I don't know, Ray, could you fix that?
Well, I don't know if I could, but certainly would try. They're the 48 team led by Chad Kness. They were prepared. They changed front suspension, rear suspension, body parts, got them back on track.
After an hour and 8 minutes, Jimmie grinds out the rest of the race, finishing in 38th.
You know, I just try to play through my mind what I could have done differently at the start of that race. And I don't think I could have done anything different. 77 lost it. You know, I wish he could have waited a few more laps before he lost control of his car. I think he didn't again the second time, but I wish I wouldn't have been around him the first time when he did. And it took us out, but there's not much we can do about it. Luckily, we had a big points lead, and all in all, all along, I should say, we've been trying to tell everybody this thing is far from over and what our mindset's been. And luckily, we've raced for every point throughout this chase. And we still have a decent points lead right now, and we need to dust ourselves off, head to Phoenix, and get a good one in the bank there.
In the 4 races prior to Texas, Jimmie Johnson had grown his lead in the chase from 12 points to 184 points over second place. After his 38th place finish, that lead flipped to 73 heading into the final 2 events in this year's chase for the Sprint Cup. All right, let's talk about it. First, the wreck. Another look at what I can think about. Sometimes when you try to be funny, you get in trouble. But all I could think about listening to Jimmie there was Dick Trickle's old saying that it's got to be at least 50% your fault because you're the one that went out there with those guys. Another look at what happened and what got Jimmie in trouble.
Yeah, 43 drivers start the race, and they all have an obligation to their team, to their sponsors, to their car owner. And to that end, you know, David Ruderman and Sam Hornish had a job to do, but a little too early. Lap 4 is too early for anybody. And you also have a responsibility to some degree to let the champions race for the title. And that's the only issue I had with it.
But there's nothing Jimmie could have done. He was just an innocent victim in the wrong place at the wrong time. And we come to think of Jimmie by his record as Superman. Stuff like this doesn't happen to Jimmie, especially in the chase. So it was pretty cool to see how they worked on the car. Even when they fixed the car, Chad said, Jimmie, if you want to just park it, you can park it. But Jimmie's a true champion. He did not quit. He went back out there and ran to the end of the race.
Let's talk about the repair effort for just a minute. Some of the pitfalls that they had to be mindful of when they evaluated what they had and started working on it before they sent Jimmie back out were What?
Well, the first thing is safety. Obviously, you've got to make sure that your driver's safe. You cannot send an unsafe car out there. The other things, there's a minimum speed limit that NASCAR makes you maintain throughout the race. You have to make sure that aerodynamically and drivability that the car can do that.
And Jimmy was saying Sunday night after the race in the press conference, which, by the way, he must have really enjoyed having to go to after riding around 117 laps down. He said at one point they told him they might have to park it because the damage was so great.
Yeah, and I think that was part of the strategy in him staying in the car, Alan, is that he didn't want to expose himself to how bad this car was and allow it to get into his head. I want to say it speaks to his confidence in Chad Knaus. Sit in that car, wait for him to give him the command and say, all right, buddy, you're ready to go. And go out and run within 3 or 4 miles per hour of these guys in a wrecked race car.
Especially after he was sitting in the car listening to saws, welders, hammers, all kinds of stuff going on. He never even saw what they were working on.
I'll bet that's a comforting sound. Let's check out a list of what the 48 team had to fix to get that car back out on the track. Ray, you communicated with Chad Knaus, and this is what he told you.
Yeah, they changed just about everything. They changed the complete right front suspension, and that includes the upper and lower control arms, the spindle, the hub, the brakes, the spring and the shock. They changed the steering, the rear end housing, the rear trailing arms that hold the rear end, the pannard rod, the dry shaft. They did some minor frame repair and changed the front and rear body panels along with the front sway bar tube.
That sounds like they built half a new car just to get Jimmy back out on the track. By going back out, Jimmy gained 15 points from where he would have finished 43rd when he crashed to where he finished in 38th, 3 points a spot. So he earned 15 more points than he would have otherwise. Worth it?
Absolutely worth it. There's been championships won and lost on less points than that. You've got to fight for every point. This thing could easily come down to the wire at Homestead. Great job by those guys. Those 15 points are important.
You get 5 bonus points for leading a lap. You get 5 for leading the most laps, and you get 15 for dedicating yourself to putting that car back on the track.
Plus, he proved to me why he's a true champion. You know, winners never quit and quitters never win. You never saw him get upset. You never saw Chad get upset. He went out there and gained those points, and, I mean, he's a true role model.
You practiced that line for a while to make sure you got it right, didn't you?
That's what you were doing.
You guys have been in those wrecked race cars before. What was it really like for Jimmy to go trudge around out there after sitting in it for 115 laps, listening to the saws and the hammers and everything else? What was it like?
Well, it's miserable because Jimmy Johnson's a guy that when he goes out and races, he wants to win. And he knew he didn't have a competitive car. He had to just go ride around there for 3 hours, staying out of everybody's way, and that's not fun.
Yeah, exactly. Boris, you got to put that behind you, right? And you got to focus on getting back to speed. Listen, it's not a given to maintain minimum speed anymore. Then you take the instincts of a driver, the smell. You smell rubber, you got to get to pit road. You got to see why the tires are rubbing. But all the rattles and the shakes. Listen, if it takes weeks or months to build these cars, they rebuilt it in an hour. That works on a driver. He did an unbelievable job under the circumstances.
Yeah, Ray would spend more time than that aligning the car, and they rebuilt the whole car in an hour.
Oh, waxing and decals, that stuff takes time, Boris.
People give me strange looks when I say anything can happen. These races aren't over till the checkered flag waves. The championship's not over till Homestead's done and they add up the points. They give me strange looks sometimes when I say something like that. But Jimmy just proved on Sunday anything can happen.
Alan, we don't give you the strange looks because of that.
Yeah.
But you're right. You know, anything can happen. The thing that is different about this sport, that is different than baseball and football and basketball, those you play the game, you rely on talent. Here, there's equipment. You are at so much at stake compared to someone else. If someone else makes a mistake, blows an engine, gets a flat tire, get caught up in their wreck, that's what's different about motorsports. There is a mechanical factor.
Yeah.
When the 48 team went to the garage, you felt a jolt of energy. Certainly, those of us broadcasting the race felt it. Ooh, this championship took a turn we didn't expect. I'm sure a lot of the race fans, but you could see it in the grandstands. Jimmy and Chad and the rest of their team, they're human beings, though. They had to feel that jolt of energy, too. What do you think that was like for them?
Oh, it had to be a sinking feeling. But, you know, I was so impressed listening to Chad Knaus. He had complete composure, and he just orchestrated this whole thing. And listening to that was fascinating. He assembled these guys, and he said, look, anybody that has some extra time, pick up the tools, reorganize. It was something to watch and something to listen to.
I think they were shocked, though. I think they were expecting this is the bullet we need to dodge at Talladega. And they got out of Talladega, you know, gaining 100 points or more. So here, they just didn't expect it. I think they were shocked.
They were shocked, but they were prepared. That, I will tell you, after years that I spent at Hendrick Motorsports, that stuff is rehearsed. There's a playbook, there's a crash cart, there's parts, there's pieces. People are available from other teams to help. You know, they were shocked, but they were prepared, and that's what got them back out to rebuild a car in just 69 minutes.
And I think this is the flip side of why these guys raced so hard and had 395-point days in the chase, to give themselves this wiggle room.
We will look at the what now. Momentum broken for the 48 team. Briefly, we'll look at the what now going forward in just a couple minutes. First, our poll question for the day. We want to know if you think Jimmy Johnson's lead in the chase after Phoenix will be more than the present 73 points, less than 73, or that he'll no longer lead the championship. Log on to the ESPN.com NASCAR page and vote. Results later in the show. Also later in the show, we will preview the upcoming Phoenix race. Our panel's thoughts on what to expect over 312 laps on the Flat Phoenix Mile, the second to last race of the season. But up next, opportunity lost. Many of those closest to Jimmy in the standings couldn't capitalize on the 48's problems in Texas. We'll look at that. Plus, the battle of the Bush brothers. Kyle and Kurt ran 1-2 much of the day. We'll look at what made the winning difference on the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable.
NASCAR Now, presented by the Home Depot. Visit HomeDepot.com. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. And in part by Xbox 360 and Forza Motorsport 3. Rated everyone.
I don't want to believe it. I don't want to think that way until this thing is mathematically locked up. Anything can happen. I know that statistics show there's probably not a chance for that to happen at this point, but I don't believe in those things. I don't buy into those programs. Just like you see in college football, you see these great upsets take place, or in any sport, you see these great upsets take place. It can still happen. You still have to play the game. We still have to run the race and get those points. So I'm keeping my head down and approaching these next two races like I would any other.
Jimmy Johnson's comments on NASCAR Now last Tuesday when trouble did strike him on Sunday. A few of those closest to him in points couldn't take advantage of the situation. On Pablo Montoya, lap 174, trouble in turn 1. He and Carl Edwards get together. Montoya spent 103 laps in the garage getting repairs. He finished 36th. Jeff Gordon spun avoiding the Montoya crash. After repairing a front splitter brace, Gordon continued, but his car's handling was just not there all race. Despite starting on the pole, Gordon finished 13th.
I mean, it was such a missed opportunity for us, and that's when I'm more frustrated than anything else. I mean, somehow we miraculously came into this race in April and did what we did, but we just are terrible here. I'm really bad here. I can't tell them what to do to make it any better. It was just a total missed opportunity for us, and I'm pretty frustrated with that.
It happens. It's racing. I know everybody wants to run good. I know Carl had having a pretty frustrating season, and he wanted to get to the front, and just didn't give me any room. I'm not going to blame him for it. It's okay. It's one of those deals that racing happens. It's the rough because, everybody in this Target Chevy keeps doing an amazing job every week, and we bring great race cars, and to see it tear up like that kind of sucks.
There was one contender able to take advantage Sunday. Mark Martin hung around at the backside of the top 10 for a lot of the day. Then as the race entered its final stages, he moved up into the top 5, then had to pit for fuel with 16 to go. The strategy did end up working out. Martin came up with a 4th place finish and gained a lot of championship ground.
Yeah, we can go head-to-head with them, no doubt about it. At Phoenix, we led the most laps and won last time there, and we have no reason to think that we can't run strong at Homestead together. There could still be swings in the points. There's 2 races left. You never know what's going to happen. So no matter what the outcome is, we've given we've raced our guts out, and I'm so proud of this team.
We didn't have the best car, but we made a good finish out of it. So I think that does more for us than anything. Just the momentum of getting another good run and getting back within striking distance helps too.
Jimmy Johnson entered the Texas race with a 184-point lead over second place. He lost 111 of those points to Mark Martin. Despite his struggle Sunday, Jeff Gordon still gained 80 points on Jimmy. Kurt Busch, with his win, picked up 141 points on the lead. Even Tony Stewart gained 101 points on Jimmy Johnson. Let's talk about what it means going forward. How does what happened on Sunday practically impact Jimmy Johnson, Mark Martin, and the others as we head to these final 2 races?
Well, I think in Mark Martin's situation, you can sort of smell blood. I mean, he's got a position now where in one race this thing could be reversed. And I've seen Mark a half dozen times this year take a car that looked 6th to 10th place and do better than that. He ran his best in the last third of this race, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. He is so good and obviously has a lot of experience, but he can bring a car that's a 6th or 10th place car to 4th place at the end of the day, and you get rewarded for it.
Yeah, and that 5-team cannon, Mark will point you to death. You know that. He's finished second, third over and over again. But what they've got to remember, Jimmy had built up a big enough cushion. He used his mulligan. He's out. But that 48 car has consistently outperformed the 5 in these last 2 races. So the 5 is going to have to step up their program if they want to beat them head-to-head.
What shocked me more than that, more than Jimmy Johnson really, was seeing Jeff Gordon like that. I mean, to me, he's one of the world's best drivers. And there, I saw a shake in his confidence. I mean, have you ever seen that in him before, Ray?
Yeah, the cars I gave him at Texas used to do that to him, Bart.
Well, he's still one of the best drivers. He's a 4-time champion. I reached out to him today, and he's still mad at himself. And, Ray, you can speak to it better than anybody. He's hard on himself, and he will bounce back from it.
Jeff's a realist, though, but he knew it was a great opportunity. He knew at one point in that race, you know, he had closed it within 30 points. Early in the race, he'd led it. He had led the most laps up to that point and then went backwards. He's a champion. He's a 4-time champion. He knows how to win championships, and he knows that was a big, big missed opportunity.
And he's still in this thing. I mean, he's 120. He gained 80 points. As bad as we make it, he still gained 80 points.
But they didn't take full advantage of the opportunity they had on Sunday by not running better. I think that was the overriding emotion we heard in Jeff's voice, right?
Sure.
Lost opportunity.
But if he wins this thing 2 weeks from now by 1 point.
Absolutely. And then we'll remember those 15 points Jimmy Johnson gained, too. I want to go back to Mark Martin for just a minute. The decision by Alan Gustafson after the pit stop that they made with 67 to go. He told Mark almost right away, we're not going to make it. Pour on the coals. Keep going. We're going to have to stop again. I'm curious in the back of my mind how much of what happened to them at Michigan in August might have played into that decision and those calculations, saying, no, we're not going to take a chance. Remember, he ran out of fuel at Michigan in August, cost him a lot of points. How much that might have played in his mind and said, no, I'm not doing that again?
Well, I'm sure they've learned something from that. And again, this is a sign of a good crew chief. Alan Gustafson now has worked with Mark Martin. He's becoming a veteran crew chief. He knows his cars. He knows his fuel mileage. He knows how much Mark can save him. He knew they needed to pit. He might not have known that in Michigan. So absolutely, was he worried about Michigan? But he knew he's gained more experience and knew what he had to do to finish that race.
All right, so you've seen the numbers, how far these guys are behind Jimmy Johnson. You even got Kurt Busch, who gained all those points on Sunday. Who's still in it? Who's too far back with 2 races to go? Is this a 2-man race, or are there more?
I sort of got to recalibrate because, a week ago I thought a lot of guys were out of it. Yeah. But the fact is, it's still, I think, Mark Martin, Jeff Gordon. And from my seat, being a big fan of Mark Martin's and complimenting him for 10 years, this is his opportunity. Yes, 73 points is a lot, but this is his opportunity, and I would never underestimate the man. He is going to go to Phoenix, and he is going to wear him down.
But Jimmy Johnson has a 5.2 average at Phoenix, so I really believe Jimmy's still in the driver's seat. As long as nothing bad happens like this weekend, I think he's still going to win this championship.
I think probability, mathematically, the top 4 guys. I mean, Kurt Busch could really spoil this thing if those 3 Hendrick cars, suppose they all wreck together at first lap of Phoenix. So Kurt Busch could spoil it, but realistically, I think it's going to come down to Mark and Jimmy.
Boy, if they wreck first, we're going to have quite a show next Monday.
Yeah, it'll be about Rick Hendrick.
Yeah, probably. You mentioned Kurt Busch. Up next on the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable, the Busch brothers, the stars of the show on Sunday. They led all but 13 laps between them. Kurt ended up celebrating in victory lane. Younger brother Kyle left frustrated after his fuel tank ran dry. We'll explore the strategic difference when the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable returns.
This is NASCAR Now, presented by the Home Depot.
The stars of the show Sunday in Texas were the Busch brothers. Kurt started 3rd, Kyle started 5th. Kurt went to the lead just 12 laps into the race. And other than during green flag pit stops, no one outside the family would lead the rest of the way. But Kyle did most of the leading. He was out front 232 of the 334 laps, and his final pit stops approached, had a 1.5-second lead on his older brother. Kyle stopped with 65 to go. Kurt stopped with 63 to go. Look at Kyle's pit stop here. 2 laps later, Kurt came in. And at the end of the pit stop exchange, Kyle was ahead of Kurt by 7.8 seconds. Kurt slipping back to 6th place on the exchange of pit stops. Kyle fought through a vibration, then began conserving fuel, slowing his lap times, letting the gap between himself and Kurt drop to 1.2 seconds with 4 laps to go. Then coming to 2 to go, Kyle's fuel tank runs dry. He coasts in while Kurt's fuel holds out. Kurt goes on to victory lane as the Texas winner, his 2nd victory of the season. Oh, for a splash of gas. But for Kurt Busch, it all worked out just fine. He was the first to the checkers.
I knew what we had for fuel mileage. I was confident in my guys' numbers. They gave me what I needed to win today. A great Miller Lite Dodge. We were fast. We were playing cat and mouse with Kyle on restarts. And, you know, it was the first true time that Kyle and I raced each other hard for a victory like this. And, you know, for us to come away and knock him off his sweep he was trying to go for, it's bittersweet. I was rooting for him, but at the same time, this is for us and Miller Lite and Dodge. And I want to thank the fans. I want to thank Operation Homefront. They've been on our car for a few weeks, and it ends here with Veterans Day, and it's just unbelievable. And right now, Penske Racing, this team, we're on it. We're doing good, and just got to hit it solid.
We're disappointed. This 18 M&M's Toyota Camry deserves to be in victory lane. I thought we had one of the best cars throughout the entire race, but just didn't work out that way. We're a little short on fuel. We had Kyle back down. We thought he was saving enough fuel, and I don't know, we missed a number somewhere, or we didn't get it full, or we didn't pick up all we thought we could pick up. I can't explain why we ran out. We'll take it back to the shop, take a look at it.
We get a chance to ask Dave more about that tomorrow. He will join us on Tuesday's NASCAR Now show. As drivers, Ricky Boris, can anything gall you more than having the dominant car and losing the race on fuel mileage?
No. I think he counted his chickens before they were hatched, because at one point in the race we caught a radio transmission when he said, "This is just like the old days in Vegas and the legends, me leading my brother." And as it turned out, that did not happen.
Maybe having a dominant car and making a mistake, you know, a driver mistake. But yeah, it's painful. And these guys, we're going to settle it between them. And congratulations to Dave Rogers. What a great start.
Yeah, led 232 of 334 laps, absolutely. As drivers and as crew chief. You know, Kyle's out there trying to save fuel, backing up his lap times. I was monitoring the 18's radio transmissions at that point, and they're coaching him on how much more he has to give. But he's behind the wheel trying to watch and see which of those cars coming up behind him is Kurt. How close is he getting? How do you know how much fuel you're saving? How can you guess how much fuel your driver can save you?
Well, it's difficult, and you got to remember, going back to, it was the first race for Dave Rogers with Kyle Busch, and again with this new car. A car he didn't build, a car he's not familiar with, so he's not sure of how much fuel it picks up, how much do you really trust mileage, can Kyle really save him? So he really did an excellent job, and he said he's going to take it back to the shop and figure it out, and he will. But it's very, very difficult, because sometimes within a lap, that comes down to, you've got to know your driver. You can calculate dropping RPMs at the end of the straightaway as much as you want. You can calculate it through lap times, but you've got to know your guy.
But as a crew chief, would you think Kyle will say to his crew chief on Monday, "Hey, why couldn't we have gone those extra 2 laps like my brother did before we pitted?" I mean, he's got to ask
That's
that
a key
question,
point,
right?
Bart, right there. You know, that was the key, because people think, well, stretch it at the end. You have to stretch it before that last stop, because that's what gives you the safety. That was really the key, stretching those extra laps and before that last run.
But anybody, for all of us that have watched Kyle Busch the last couple of years, isn't it sort of a contradiction to, you know, put Kyle Busch in conserving fuel? Yeah, isn't that kind of contradiction?
Yeah.
Save fuel, Kyle.
And Kyle said a couple times before that, you know, and saying it in frustration at times, but I'm not good at that. I'm not good at fuel mileage racing. Kyle was going for the triple and came so close. He led 465 of 681 laps that were run at Texas Motor Speedway this weekend between Friday night's Camping World Truck Series race, Saturday's Nationwide Series race, and the Sprint Cup race on Sunday. Let me run that by you again. 465 of 681 on the weekend.
That's unbelievable. You know, your heart breaks for the kid, because, again, he was about to do it, and it was less than a gallon of gas that we're talking away, again, from seeing NASCAR history. He's going to do it, as much racing as he does, but that was just an incredible performance. And again, came down to a strategy race. You hate to lose him like that, but that's just the way it is.
Just to put it in perspective, I've won in all 3 series. It took me 10 years.
Ever the same weekend?
He almost did it in 72 hours. Kyle reported a vibration after the lap 269 pit stop, and he wrote it out. Kyle asked the crew to get all the tires tight. Dave Rogers looked at the video of the pit stop. The tire changer said yes. Dave looked at the video, said, man, they hit him hard. They've got to be all tight. You got a theory?
Yeah, it's happened 100 times in my career on these fast tracks where you don't use a lot of brake, the rotors are cool, and then a green flag stop and you exhaust these brakes. You work them hard. They're flame red. You saw it on some of the pit stops. Then the driver has to set for 13, 14 seconds with his foot on the brake. He puts a high spot on the rotor, goes back back out, new tires, goes to the brake pedal into the corner. He feels that vibration. It goes away when he gets off the brakes and feels it as he accelerates down the straightaways. It's happened a lot. It only happens, though, when the circumstances are right and come together. The track, the green flag stops, cool, the temperature's dropping.
And perhaps that's what happened to Kyle on Sunday. Kurt had a vibration, too, before his last pit stop. And when the tires came off the car, yeah, it's no wonder he had a vibration. Right front didn't look too healthy.
Oh, boy, that was scary. That comes from a little bit of camber. The cars were extremely tight at Texas, and Texas is a fast place. And you could see when using the negative camber, it wears the inside. When it starts to blister, starts to chunk, that thing comes apart. He didn't have another lap or two on that tire right there.
It's amazing. Now, we said Kurt couldn't win a championship with a lame duck crew chief. They may not win the championship. They won a race.
And they're pretty close to the championship. They're only 170-so points out, so it's still possible.
And I think it's strange. Sometimes it's hard to explain what motivates people, but I really think that this situation motivated both of them.
Okay, but let's look at how good could they have been. They're doing this good right now. How good could they be doing if they were communicating properly and if it wasn't a lame duck crew chief? It was a championship caliber team, and that's why we talked about before. Why is it hard to win 3, 4 championships in a row? Got to hold that team together.
And so Kurt Busch with his lame duck crew chief. Flip side of the coin, Kyle Busch, his first race with a new crew chief. Now, you talked about Dave Rogers needing to learn Kyle and learn all the different aspects of that car, but to lead that many laps in their first race together, what's that do for them?
That's great. It shows that, Dave Rogers may well be what Kyle needed. Dave is a very, very good crew chief. He did a great job, certainly in the Nationwide Series. He had a short stint as a crew chief for the Gibbs organization early. Joe sent him back. It's kind of like, hey, sending somebody back to the minors for a while, let him get seasoned. And he was put in a really difficult position when it's your first race. And it comes down to the strategy that you have to know the car and know the driver, and it's your first race. Very difficult position.
But don't you think, who's to blame for him running out of fuel? Is Kyle going to blame him, or is he blaming Kyle for not saving enough fuel?
Nobody's blaming anybody. That's
right.
the point. That, what they've got to look at is how well they did together. It's just, again, something that they've got to learn. Dave's going to go back. He's a very engineering-oriented crew chief, an engineer, I believe, and we'll find out exactly. This is the I don't even want to say it was a mistake. He will learn from this and go on. You will hear a lot more about this young man.
And I don't recall hearing any hesitation in Dave Rogers' voice, by the way, after that pit stop and say, we're not coming back in again. Matter of fact, I think we had the radio transmission on the air. He said, we're done pitting, and we're 2 laps short.
You think about the fundamentals, guys. The hardest part of this job is speed. They had speed. They can fix fuel mileage. They can fix strategy, but you can't fix speed overnight, and they had it.
Last point between the Busch brothers that I'd like to make. The double file restarts between the two of them. Inside lane, outside lane, all that. It seemed to me like the control car. Whoever was the leader, it didn't matter which lane he picked, the control car seemed to have the advantage there.
Well, always, because the control car gets to dictate when he jumps, so he can be real smooth on the power and get it. And basically, when you're the second guy, sometimes you hesitate and you hit the gas a little too quick, and that's easy to spin the tires that way.
Very easy. In the second gear, as I said 100 times, a lot of wheel spin with a hard tire on a 1.5 mile track.
And Rusty is talking about that particular spot at Texas Motor Speedway where the restart zone is hard to get a hold of anyway. It's very flat and very difficult to make that hook up on a car that's designed to get its maximum grip up on 24 degrees of bank.
Yeah. I was just going to say, proactive versus reactive. As you said, you're ready for it, so you can control the speed of your foot a little bit. And when you're pushing 850, 875 horsepower and getting ready to take off, those tires are down. They don't have the pressure built up into them for maximum traction. Very, very easy to spin.
Did you learn that drag racing?
Did I? Doug Herbert taught that to me.
All right, still to come, what to watch for when the chase for the Sprint Cup moves to the Valley of the Sun for this weekend's race in Phoenix. That's a little bit later on in the program. But up next, some noteworthy races from Sunday, including Marcos Ambrose, and why a Packer can pose such a position-costing problem. The chase has come to Texas. It's one of NASCAR's fastest tracks, 500 miles here, no Sunday cruise. It's a full day's work for the drivers, a place where a little wiggle can turn into a big crash in a hurry, and a place where victory will be harder.
Just be cautious here at the start. There's some people up front that typically aren't up there. Stay up front, keep it in contention, be around for that last run. See if we can do it.
Hang in there all day and we'll go wear them out then, man. Have fun out there, Kurt.
Let's do it. Be ready. Straight flag.
Green flag waves, and we're underway.
Great job, bud. That's 5 points. Get those fans on when you get a second. That's hard to pass, Floyd. Gonna kill us here.
Freaking sideways, but this idiot in front of us can't do anything.
I mean, it is on back here. Side, inside. Great job, man. You're getting
trouble for Jimmy Johnson.
touched out.
Man, he's got a lot of damage.
But get ready. All right, guys, we're going to need to get right front suspension, right rear suspension. Straight to the garage, Jimmy. Straight to the garage.
That's going to take a lot of work. They're going to have to replace a lot of parts.
The whole field thinks that this championship is back open again, and you know what? It is.
He's tore out, Mark. He's definitely going to the garage. Maybe that teaches all the media a little lesson. Go back and read their articles they wrote this morning and have to redo them.
The green flag is waving again. Kyle Busch gets a good jump on the outside. Kurt Busch, though, drives back to the inside.
You know how much this reminds me of a legend car race? What's that? Because I got my brother in my mirror just stalking me.
Back in 5th position, moving up slowly is Mark Martin, and the points
34, 50, 30th, fastest car on the track.
It looks like Jimmy Johnson is now coming back out onto the pit lane. At this point, he has the ability to maybe climb up to the 39th position.
Oh, trouble, turn 2. Montoya up there. Jeff Gordon spins around.
You hit anything, buddy? No, I didn't hit anything. We're about a 15th place car right there. Running hard, or are you saving fuel? Both. Easier to save a little bit of gas. We're about lap short. The double zero's way short, and Kyle's about 3 laps short. We're going to be short, or can we make it? 3.5 short. 2 cars going to try to push it 1 lap further than us.
And I think Kyle Busch is out of fuel. He's wiggling the car.
I'm out. Coming to you. I'm out. I'm out.
Kyle Busch has run out of gas.
And Kurt Busch is the new leader on the back straightaway.
Clear. Clear. Awesome work, bud. Nice and smooth here.
And once again tonight, the fuel mileage works, and Kurt Busch will go to victory lane here at Texas.
Yeah, baby. It's Miller time, baby. Face the beer.
Mark Martin's going to end up in 4th spot. And now the points margin down to 73.
Awesome deal. How's the old tortoise versus the hare, baby? Woo!
Some other notes from Sunday's race. Kurt Busch became the 33rd driver in Sprint Cup history to reach the 20-win mark. Third place Matt Kenseth scored his 6th consecutive top 10 at Texas Motor Speedway. Started 30th, by the way. And A.J. Allmendinger scored a top 10 finish at his Ford debut for the Richard Petty Motorsports team. Marcus Ambrose had a car that appeared to be one of the fastest in the field Sunday, moving up to 3rd around halfway. Then on a pit stop at lap 168, team chose to put a Packer in the right front, falling from 3rd to 18th at the time. Ambrose moved back into the top 10, running 9th at lap 200. Then on a green flag pit stop, the team took the time to remove the Packer. Then they ran out of fuel. He ended up finishing 15th. Ray's at our cutaway car. What's a Packer? It's not a Vegemite thing, is it, Ray?
Well, thanks, Alan. I don't know anything about Vegemite, but I do know about Packers. This is ESPN, so I asked for a Packer to do this segment, and they brought me this. This isn't the kind of Packer I was talking about. Now, even though there are a lot of Packer fans out there, the kind of Packer I was talking about was this little piece of plastic. As you know, the new car operates on bump stops because we talk about them all the time. Instead of being on the springs, we use this little piece of rubber to regulate the suspension. And what the Packer does is regulate the height of the car, how soon, how hard it gets on those bump stops. And by plugging this little piece of plastic in and out of the shock on Sunday, during the pit stops, they changed the handling a great deal on Marcus Ambrose's car. So, like a football team, one little Packer can make a huge difference.
Very nice. One big Packer in the case of an offensive lineman. Still to come, who's got the numbers at Phoenix? Not that past performance guarantees future results, but we'll look at the stats for Sunday's race in a minute. And next, our panel's opinion on this week's racing topics in the news. Yeah, you knew we'd have to touch on that one.
You're watching NASCAR Now, presented by the Home Depot.
I think that she obviously has a great presence and fan base, and you know there's could be a lot of excitement that can be built around it.
Well, if Danica Patrick could come over here to NASCAR and run well, it'd be great for the sport. It'd be great for for the sponsors that she brings over here. The fans will love it. So I think that the better she does over here, barring, you know, running in front of me, I guess, the better it is for the sport, and I think that's good.
It appears no longer it will be if Danica Patrick takes a whirl at stock car racing, but when, and certainly when this story rose up again this past week, a lot of folks were interested. It was one of the most sampled stories on ESPN.com. I know we've discussed it before, but a round of comments from you on what the challenges will be in Danica coming to the Nationwide Series, potentially at Daytona in February, what the prospects for success are, and so on.
Well, the people closest to her speak of her talent, and they would know best. And the fact is, if she comes to this series and she dedicates herself to the series, then she'll have a great chance, because it appears as though she will be aligned with a strong team with strong people.
I mean, if you take away the fact that she's a beautiful woman, I mean, people really judge her for that. But if you just look at her record, I mean, she finished 5th in the IndyCar Series this year, beating her more experienced teammate, Tony Kanaan. And from experience, about 5 years ago, she came and tested one of our BMW M3 race cars, and straight away she was on the pace. And I think that was the first car she ever drove with fenders. So she definitely has the talent to drive a race car. The real thing is, can she adapt to a different discipline? And time will tell.
Well, this girl definitely has the talent and the ability and the right attitude to get this done. The things that I would caution her about is making sure that she gets surrounded by the right people that will keep their expectations in line and grow with her. And again, teaming up with Junior Motorsports, make sure it doesn't turn into a media and marketing service, because if she focuses on learning NASCAR, I think that she will get it done.
But going back and forth between the Nationwide Series, trying to learn stock car racing, and Indy cars next year is reportedly the plan. How difficult will that be?
I think it'll be somewhat difficult, but the IndyCar schedule is not near as grueling as a NASCAR schedule. And I do think it's important that she stay somewhat on the IndyCar side, because this girl has a chance to win the Indy 500 too. And if she does that, I mean, that'll knock the world off its axis. Yeah. So she wants to concentrate on NASCAR, move and learn. But again, can you imagine she wins the Indy 500? That's big news, too.
Next topic of discussion, Dale Earnhardt Jr. ran so well on Sunday, and then it all kind of fell apart on a late pit stop when the car stalled and couldn't get it going and that kind of thing. This team seems like they're this close to having the performance that some of the other Hendrick teams are on the track, and things just keep getting in the way.
I mean, he ran the top 10 all day long. What he needs is these races to be 10 laps shorter, and he'd have a bunch of top 10s. Ray, why did he run out of gas? I was shocked.
Changes, you know, again, there's been changes, there's been turmoil, there's been things on that team that have taken their focus off of getting faster. You know, they've had a lot of outside distractions. I think if they leave them alone for a while, what Ricky said before about having speed, they had speed, that's the best he's run in a long time. They've just got to work through the other things. You know, once you have speed, you can fix everything else.
And when you get in a rut like they've been in, it's just like starting over. And if you've never won a race, you have to run top 10 long enough to get acclimated to it and expect it. Then you run top 5, you have to lose a few races, eventually you win. That's really what Dale Jr. is going through, just like starting over again.
Next topic. I had a few people, while it was happening on Sunday, and then later on Sunday night, say to me, interesting how guys with Jeff Gordon uniforms on and Dale Jr. uniforms on were in there helping the 48 team repair that race car. Gordon's one of the guys racing him for a championship. Why would they do that? Well, it's part of a plan, Ray, and you can kind of tell us how that works.
Yeah, the same man signs all their paychecks. You know, unlike, again, stick and ball sports, this is a multiple team operation. And if it weren't for sponsors like Lowe's, DuPont, things like that, all those guys would have been wearing Hendrick Motorsports uniforms. All those cars are built by the same people. They're maintained by the same people. They wear different sponsor ID on Sundays as they race the cars.
Let's talk about the plan of putting the car back together. I know we talked about this specific incident earlier, but the crash cart. I can recall one of the first ones I saw being decorated in rainbow colors. I can recall seeing a frame straightening machine dragged into the garage area at a racetrack when a rainbow-colored car was running for a championship. It's the first one of those I saw. There's a lot of thought that goes into that situation.
You ought to have seen all the parts that we had to have when Ricky drove. That's a whole other story.
Wow, Ricky.
Yeah. Well, you know, we thought about every point, and at that time we wanted to have a crash cart. We wanted to have things prepared. We went with the playbook and gave people their jobs. It started to be that every point was critical, because you could see championships. Again, I think it was 11 points was the closest one in history with Alan Kulwicki and Davey Allison and those guys. So every point was critical. You could get that car back out, and at that time, make up a lot of space. And what you needed to do was be prepared before it happened. And that's a tradition that they've carried on at Hendrick Motorsports and gotten very good at it.
He started it, but there's not a driver at Hendrick Motorsports that would walk by it and compliment it. They were like, what do we need that for?
I thought when you said he started it, we were going back to his previous comments.
He's buying dinner tonight.
And Chad was so calm under that whole thing. I mean, he was on the radio a lot, just directing, kind of like a maestro in an orchestra. And I mean, it was amazing how calm they all were.
Got to get it done. And 15 points, again, could be big come Phoenix. Speaking of Phoenix, up next, what to watch for in Phoenix. Mark Martin, the winner on the Desert Mile earlier this season. A race preview next on the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable. ESPN's Monday Night Football tonight. Great matchup. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Denver Broncos. 8:30 Eastern. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown served by Applebee's. That's at 7 Eastern Time.
And everybody in Phoenix on their feet. They know this is going to be a good one. Martin goes to the high side of the racetrack, and Martin to the lead on turn 2. They may call him the old man, but he hasn't forgotten how to win a race.
Well, Mark Martin has waited for 4 years to go back to victory lane, and he has done it.
Mark Martin, you are unbelievable, buddy. You are the man. I love driving y'all's cars. Thank you. Looking at the car. Thanks, guys. Way to go.
Love you, man.
Thinking about Phoenix. Jimmy Johnson may have had his troubles at Texas, but his numbers at Phoenix are the best of all chasers. A 5.4 average finish. Only driver who's ever had a better average there was the late Alan Kulwicki. Mark Martin with the second best average of the chasers. And Mark, as you just saw, won there in April. 312 laps, 312 miles on the flat Phoenix mile. Driver, car, crew chief, challenges or Phoenix or what?
Yeah, I love flat tracks. I love mile tracks like New Hampshire. Thought Phoenix first trip there would be like New Hampshire. I despised it. It drove me nuts. One of the hardest tracks I ever competed at because nothing translates to other racetracks. It's so easy to overdrive. It's also easy to underdrive, and these guys will have their hands full.
And turn 1 and 2 is so different. It's just like a compromise thing. From 1 and 2 to 3 and 4, if you get your car good at one end, it's not good at the other end. So you really got to figure out what's the most important end. And it makes your job miserable.
Yeah. Well, and Phoenix is a racetrack. Obviously, it sits in the desert most of the year, and it gets very slick surface. It gets kind of wore out, and there's places that have grip, and then places that don't can slide across there very easily.
With the narrow front stretch at Phoenix, walls on both sides and fairly close together. I heard a lot of talk about the potential of the double file restarts and restart trouble there. Thoughts?
Well, there's always been double file restarts, but among the leaders this time, the shootout style, I think that the spotters are going to earn their money. They don't get a lot of credit, but what happens, Alan, guys, when a driver in front of you checks up, you need your spotter to see that before you can react to it.
I think since the inception, the double file restarts have gotten a little calmer. Guys know they don't need to wreck just on this restart, so I think there won't be any problems there.
I'm sorry, I was going to say that with the lap cars gone now, they can use that apron getting into turn 1. I think that you'll see better side-by-side racing on the restarts because of that. Always, the lap cars stop side-by-side racing early after restarts late in the race.
We've seen a lot of guys get the noses of their cars bent up in restart accordions at Phoenix. I will be interested to see if we have a big pileup. If you turn a car sideways across that front stretch, there's not a whole lot of room. If you're one of the top point guys and you don't have a good qualifying time on Friday, how does it affect the way you approach the race on Sunday at Phoenix? Track position's a big deal there.
Absolutely. If what you want to do, if there's an early caution, you come in, get your tires, get fuel, and if there's a caution right after that, you stay out. If not, Phoenix is a place that you want to look at 2 tires. If you run about half a fuel stop or less, you're going to put 2 tires on to get that car up front.
As unusual as the track is, pit road is equally as challenging because you have to always look around the corner, and a lot of times the crew chief will put the driver's number across on the inside wall, outside of the pit road. And I tell you, there's plenty of opportunity on pit road to make a mistake or speed.
I think it's going to be an interesting race. Look forward to it. Second to last race of the season Sunday in Phoenix. Up next, poll results and final thoughts on this NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable.
NASCAR Now, presented by The Home Depot. Visit HomeDepot.com. More saving, more doing. That's the power of The Home Depot.
Hi,
Hi, this is Jeff Gordon, driver of the DuPont Chevrolet, and I want to say thank you to all the veterans out there, past and present, who have served this great nation and done such a fantastic job to get us to where we are today with the freedom and the peace that we have, and we owe it all to you. Thank you so much.
Well said, Mr. Jeff. Now on ESPN.com, Terry Blunt writes, it may have seemed like a blur at the time, but Mark Martin spotted his opportunity and seized it, and the chase is back on. Earlier, we asked you if you thought Jimmie Johnson's chase lead after Phoenix would be more than, less than 73 points his current lead, or he'll no longer lead. It's about a split. 45% said it'd be fewer. 42% said it'd be larger. 13% said that Jimmie would not be the championship leader after Phoenix. There you go. I say we'll see how it unfolds over 312 laps on Sunday. A couple quick notes. Tomorrow on NASCAR Now, Dave Rogers, Greg Biffle, Andy Petrie, and we might find out some penalties from Kyle Busch's Nationwide Series car from Thursday inspection at Texas, and Martin Truex's car that had some post-race problems when they were selected as the random impound car and came up a little bit funny on the height sticks. So we'll see how that all plays out. Final thoughts. You're first.
I wanted so bad to come at Ray, you know, with and I thought about it.
It's true.
And I had to agree.
All right.
Is Jimmie Johnson going to go there and win the race? I mean, is the what if going to happen again? Because that just, I mean, I spilled my nachos, I dropped my jaw. I mean, I did not expect that to happen last week.
You know, I'm really looking forward to the battle between Jimmie Johnson and Mark Martin. They have the two best finishing averages between them, and they are in equal equipment.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see. I'm just looking forward to going to Phoenix. It's a great trip this time of the year. You're winding the season down. The weather's always beautiful. The racing's good. It's one of my favorite trips of the year. Maybe you'll be there with us. Maybe you'll be joining us on TV for it. 2 races to go, 73 points between the top 2. You never know what can happen in these races. Don't look at me like that, Ray. You never know what can happen in these races until it's over. You might even see a guy going backwards with the checkered flag. We'll talk to you later.